We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You know I blame it on industry. I blame it on my own hypocrisy. Miseducation and politicians. No one's willing to step up and speak.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We are live, and we are live here at paceradio.net. I'm your host, Al Graham. Tonight, for the first time in a long time, I thought I'd be hosting the show alone. In a way, I would have been jointless, right? And it can't be jointless, can we? Kim is moving, so she's got the month of June off, right? Julie Corallo, she's filling in for Kim, and Julie's very busy. And I said, just take the night off, and I'll do the show alone and go from there. And I thought, well, hey, there's lots of hosts here on the network. Why don't I see if somebody else wants to join me? And sure enough, Loretta Clark spoke up, and Loretta Clark is here tonight with me on the broadcast. Good night, Loretta. How are you doing?
I am so happy to be here with you, Al, and soon to be Jennifer. Totally happy about that. Totally excited.
Good. Yes, it's going to be a little different. First time you and I working together, but I think we'll pull it off.
Absolutely. I'm totally excited to talk all things cannabis here in Quebec, there in Ontario, and what's coming up for the summer, because I think we're all really ready to have some awesome cannabis events. I know I'm trying to organize some, and I'll tell you about that. And I'm totally excited to learn about what's going on in Ontario, what's going on with lounges, how are people coming out of this pandemic to be more determined than ever to get us and bring us the legalization that we had originally fought for but didn't get yet.
we gotta keep working on it. There's no doubt about that. Just because you have cannabis legalization doesn't mean that you stop. You keep working on it until you get it better, and you get more people involved, and you get things that you had before legalization that you lost.
And we end the drug war.
That's right. So,
for me, it's important to end the drug war and also provide jobs to those who were most adversely impacted by the drug war. Like, that's, to me, what, part of what I think a lounge program that, I feel that the government should get behind. That isn't just, for people who have money. Yes, we can have recreational lounges, of course. Yeah. But there should be a medical one that actually addresses, that has some programs that obviously, build off of all the things that we have done so far in lounges and how we've done things to help people, get access to cannabis, make oil for people. All these things that we've done all these years, could be put into some really awesome programming that, also did provide jobs. Because one of the things that I find really annoying is that here in Quebec, for example, if you have a record, you're arrested for cannabis, you can't work in the cannabis store. That's just, to me, that could not be more wrong.
Yeah, someone gets arrested for basically 2 joints worth of cannabis shouldn't be restricted from working in a cannabis store. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I know, just for listeners who may not know, Loretta, you're part of the Canada-Quebec Connection broadcast with Tamara Cartwright. You guys are live Monday nights here on the network, right?
Yeah, me and Wild T, we have our conversation on Monday nights and at 9 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock her time.
Yeah,
Eastern Standard We're just starting, and we're going to get going. And I'm doing a lounge petition here in Montreal. I've got it at a number of head shops. I'm trying to get some of the bars and and restaurants, cafes involved, because they're very angry at the government. So, I'm hoping, and many of them closed down. They say maybe 30% of them won't reopen. So I'm trying to say, why can't we're having a mayor's race. Yeah. Let's make the mayors debate this issue.
This is a good time.
And we could have pilot projects where we could have lounge events in some bars and, infused dinners at some restaurants, like have different kind of versions of lounges and, and do it for like a year, and then also write the framework, what's working with it, what could be better with it, what shouldn't be done with it. They wouldn't want selling perhaps, but, Montreal is also like former, vending machine capital of the world. Well, maybe they could have vending machines in their restaurants or whatever. Like, they're so desperate, right? Yeah. So this is for me, this is like an opening, and to see if I can at least try and get this conversation.
I look forward to seeing how you make out. Keep us updated on that challenge, because we may need it here in Ontario as well. Now, before we bring in our guest, I want to mention, throw out a congratulations to Jack Kungle and director and producer Kim Soltarski. They've just won an award for Jack's Garage, a Laurel Award, for the best documentary short at the Colorado International Cannabis and Hemp Film Festival down there in the USA. And
that is so cool.
I think that's terrific that this has happened. Kim and Jack are past guests on the show here, and Kim was just on recently with Gary Pallister and Mend, and he's documenting what's going on there. Let's hope that Kim can get some back-to-back victories on these type of documentaries that he's doing.
Important. Yes. So important. And festivals mark a point in our evolution as a movement and as a community that we are going to a whole other level. And we're going to a whole other global level. Like, it's really, definitely the pandemic's pushed us on another level for sure. So that's fantastic. I'm totally excited about the fact that this film festival exists, and I want to make a film. And I've got some stories.
Jack works hard to teach and educate people, not only knowledge on information, but also on how to create their medicine, how to take their medicine. Throughout the documentary, it's about a 34-minute documentary. Throughout it, there's patients are involved. It's talking about the patient's stories, everything. It's quite the show. It's something that everybody should look for and watch. Yeah, to get an opportunity to do so.
Cannabis, kudos to them. Way to go. That's fantastic.
That's right.
Awesome.
Exactly. All right. Well, it's time to bring in our guest for tonight's program. What do you think? I'll introduce them, and at this time, I'd like to welcome Jennifer Pixie to the program and the Pace Radio Show. Jennifer's been involved in the cannabis community for a long time, helping patients and educating people. And she's here tonight we're going to share her story and find out an update as well as what the future holds for her. So welcome, Jennifer, to the broadcast. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Al. Hi, Loretta. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey,
I'm doing great today.
So nice
Very
to
excited
have
to be
you
here.
on. So nice to hear your voice, Jennifer.
That's right. The I've seen some recent stuff posted online as far as you, and I know some stuff from the past, and I thought, I got looking, and geez, it's been a while since we've had Jennifer on the program. Let's get it updated and see where she's going, what's going on with her. Years ago with rallies, well, I shouldn't say years ago. It's been 2 years. With rallies and stuff, we would get to see each other. People would see each other all the time at different events, and and with the COVID situation, that hasn't happened. And I thought, geez, tonight be a great night to get back in touch with Jennifer, see what she's been doing, and see what the future holds with her.
Yeah, it has been a surprisingly busy couple of years, despite the global situation.
Yeah,
people do still need their meds,
right.
so we're grateful to be an essential service, even if it's not necessarily recognized as an essential service.
Right, that's right. So let's get things going from here in the program. We like to go back to the beginning. Their guests' first experiences with cannabis. For some people it's medical. For some people it was just purely recreational, and they have an exciting stories to tell. And some just say, "Oh, geez, I had a bad experience, and I gave it up for a while until I got a little bit older." So, how about yourself?
Well, I would say my initial experiences with cannabis were definitely recreational. I was an early teen when I first experimented with smoking cannabis, and I do have a funny story about the very first time that a friend took me. We went to a park, and she said, I got some really nice stuff, and I got a new bong, and we're gonna christen my bong. And I was really excited because I'd never smoked a bong before. And so we're sitting in this park, and she hands me this little pink acrylic bong, and she says, "You hold this. I'm going to put the water in." So she pours the water in, and then she hands me a bud, and she says, "You just put that in there, and then I'll find the lighter." And I looked down at this pink tube, and I looked into the water, and I thought, well, here's to trying something new. And I tossed the bud right down the tube into the water. And she turned around and she said, "Just toss it in there." So I tossed it in and hoped for the best. And she turned around and was very disappointed in me and said, "It's okay, I have more. Next time, don't do that."
Friendship.
We all come at this as very new. We don't know what we're doing, and it's important to have someone who is kind and understanding in those moments of misdirection.
It is, it's we all got stories from those first times of trying it, and what we went through, and years later we can always look back at things and laugh at them, and it's good. It's good like that.
Absolutely. She the friend that I'm speaking of does consume on occasion now, but she says she takes pride in knowing that she got me quote unquote hooked.
and you know what I find that hooked feeling is, to me, is wanting to always spread the truth and tell the story and share the experience, and
I agree. I so agree with that.
The feeling of advocacy is
like, why do some of us become so obsessed? Like, I don't, I sometimes have wondered that, where it is like, I feel like I was born to be on a lounge mission, because I've been yakking about lounges here since I got here like 15 years ago. And, I was lucky enough being in Toronto that I was at Joey's place when it first opened. Even before she had that place, she did events in a Hungarian church, and I was there. Like, I was always,
the Latvian hell.
Be always like, even where I grew up, like I was 11 years old, and there's so much weed around, and I even got honey oil like when I was 12, like, so it just, for some reason, so lucky that I grew up in a, obviously a green zone, and but some of us do, when being hooked, like you said, Al, what that means, but we are obsessed with wanting to show people how to make the oil if they have cancer. I went to some oh, where veterans go, legions, because I was like, for a while, I was like, legions, turn legions into lounges. That was my mantra. Whatever. But I was able to go there and show them how to make oil because some had cancer and, whatever. Like, there's just like, some of us do, we get hooked for sure. That's that's being hooked.
Yeah, exactly. And, Jennifer,
passion can turn into a mission.
Yeah. I exactly. And Jennifer, from I'd say you're like that as well. You're a person who's you've been out there in those rallies in Toronto. You've been helping people, with patients, educating them about cannabis. Maybe without naming names, if you got any stories that you can talk about, some of the situations where you've helped a patient, you've seen the benefit and how it changed their quality of life along that line.
Gosh,
yeah. And yourself, as you're a patient yourself.
I am, yes. No, I as I said, I started smoking recreationally, certainly in my teens, but I did come to the medical side of things fairly early, considering I was diagnosed with several medical conditions in my early or mid-teens, and I found that cannabis use definitely alleviated my pain and a lot of my anxiety and things like that. That weren't necessarily a known medical use, but I was certainly already acknowledging that internally as being a benefit for myself. And I found Calm, which is one of Canada's oldest medical access dispensaries, compassion centers, whatever you want to call them. So I found them, and I started volunteering there actually in 2005. And I really loved being able to work there and meet patients and talk to them. And I can remember one who had a stammer, and he wasn't able to find any medical documentation that was able to prove that a stammer was helped by cannabis. But he knew, and he was using it effectively, and he was trying really hard to speak to his doctors about it, and the anxiety of the conversation itself became such a stopping point that he wasn't able to just broach the subject even.
And isn't that sad? Like, what a sad statement about our medical system, I find. I know I came upon that so much, but that's so sad.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of doctors are, I mean, again, 15, 20 years ago, a lot of doctors were less open to the subject than they are now.
Way less. I mean, I heard crazy stories in Quebec because I was trying to help people get their medical licenses too at the head shop where I was at, of people, like one guy even told me that his doctor tried to punch him when he was at, you know what I mean? And I was like,
oh my God.
That seemed like a bit much, but then I had heard so many bad stories at this point that I believed it, because it's like their reaction was, some of their reaction was like, it was sick, their reaction, like really sick.
So go on, Jennifer.
Sorry, Jennifer.
No worries. So he was, when he came to us, he was able to email us, and we conversed through our online sources, and I was able to discuss it with his physician at his request and with his medical release in order to converse with the doctor. And the doctor was so surprised that this was a contemplation of his patient, and was so excited that we were willing to help the patient on such an intimate level to make a phone call and say, so first step, we need the medical release. Second of all, we're going to book an appointment to call you and talk to you about this patient, and broach this subject with him. And he was so excited that his patient had found something that worked.
That's a good doctor. That's a good.
And he had never contemplated it. It was not even in his field of vision as a physician to think of cannabis as being something that might help someone who had a very severe stammer. And no, there didn't happen to be any medical papers that had studied it yet. But
a stammer.
If you look now,
what exactly is a stammer?
Yeah, like a stammer or a stutter.
A stutter. Okay, that's what I was. What I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. A stutter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's different levels of it where it gets to be a severe impediment to just simple conversation, and some people suffer immensely because they're unable to go about daily life, to simply converse with others. Is such a privilege that we don't recognize.
It's a
being
it's a real disability for sure. Like hard.
Oh, it is.
And it's a very hidden disability, and people judge that type of a person very much. They think of them as nervous or not put together. And he faced a lot of that type of discrimination, or people who would say, well, it's not a real disability, it's just a speech thing. And that's a hugely impactful moment. And to have someone willing to go that extra mile for him and speak to his doctor and initiate that, every once in a while I think back to him and I think, I'm really happy that I was able to do that.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
And
are they doing research? Because it just, when you as soon as you said it, of course it makes sense that it's going to help with stuttering and these issues, just like it helps with epilepsy and seizures. They're all kind of, of course it's going to help with stuttering. It makes sense. I'm just wondering are they giving kids who stutter CBD? Is there anything has it moved into a broader area of research? It's such a.
I do know that there have been studies involving similar facial issues like tic-douloureux and other conditions like that. So I think that there is a much. Yeah, so I think that there's much more likelihood that there would be an individual study on a stutter or a stammer issue by now.
Yeah, I know. Years ago when I was doing the documentary films at the cafes, I used to share different different short clips and stuff like that as part of stuff that I did, and there was two clips, one of a woman and one of a guy who had stammer issues, and that wasn't their only issue. They had other conditions that went along that way, and they you could see them. They'd smoke the bowl of cannabis, and literally within seconds, their voice, not their voice, but their speech, it smoothens out. It's just it surprises me. You probably know I said much. I'll do a stutter. I actually spent 4 years in speech therapy. And when I first debuted the Pace Radio Show back in 2013, I spent time explaining to people that I had a speech issue. And now here you guys are talking about speech issues. So
it's wonderful to share. A lot of time people don't realize how hard it is to work through those issues. And that they are really more common than we think. We all have that part about us that holds us back slightly. And I think cannabis is one of those things that allows us, even if it doesn't ameliorate the symptom itself, it makes you as an individual able to combat it socially better.
I agree 100%. And so it brings people out of their solitary life in a way, many times when I've been to underground lounges, and that we had a lounge in Montreal for almost a year here. It was raided last year. One thing that just always sticks with me is there's often a group of hearing impaired people, and I'm like, I never see hearing impaired people anywhere else, like, where I go, like, except for in this setting, which always makes me realize this is why lounges, one of the reasons I think they're so important, and it's cannabis again, but it does break down barriers that just help, like the fact that deaf people actually feel, comfortable enough to be there, like, is great, and that's something that should be built upon and should be part of every lounge, and have sign language also as part of it, because, it's just, again, communications. It is, it's hard to communicate if you're a shy person, sometimes. So to have like a stutter, or, to have a real difficulty, in speech, like, of course it's going to be so much harder. And of course cannabis is like this incredible gift, because it brings the calmness. It will improve, may not make it perfect, but it makes it easier and smoother. And I find that I communicate with deaf people when I'm in this situation. Like I realize how much body language is communication. I don't know sign language. I always do the peace thing and, make eye contact, like whatever. I try to have this connection because I value it so much, because I don't go to anywhere else in the world where I see deaf people, so that's, just one other, blessing of cannabis for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, that's right.
So Jennifer, you're with Earl Dabs, is that correct too? Is that also what you're part of?
Yes, I am one of the co-founders of Earl Dabs Labs.
Yeah, I love your products. And that picture of you with this huge extraction, I love doing it. But I've eaten many Earl Dabs gummies. I love your products. I've been to Planet Paradise. I really find the energy of that lounge quite interesting, with Al Capone's picture on the wall, because he used to go there, and I just love it. Like that long bar. You know what I mean? Like it's just such an interesting. Interesting. But Earl Dabs was always there when I was there. You're still there? Like are you there sometimes there or?
The Earl Dabs line has sort of taken a hiatus for the moment. Yeah. One of the things that I'm really focused on is trying to bring those products that everybody in the legacy and market and who have been enjoying cannabis for so long, those products have not made it to the legal market yet. Sure. We had cannabis 2.0 legalization, like the second release, the introduction of edibles and extracts to the regulated market, and it hasn't yet had that sort of oomph that regular cannabis users are looking for.
Do you feel that's coming, and also because all of their edibles are like 10 milligrams, and we eat 650 sometimes here. You know what I mean? Like, we eat crazy amounts sometimes. Like, who wants to pay money for 10 milligrams? I mean, I know some people do, but no one I know.
Oh, absolutely, right? Like, there's definitely a place for that kind of dosage. It is very useful for like what we would call like a naive user, or someone who is just starting out. I've dealt with patients who just couldn't handle large amounts. Even just CBD sometimes has a very heavy effect on people, and it's more sedating than they anticipate. But most medical patients don't find the type of dosage that they need on the recreational market. Certainly.
And they say the stores are recreational, so they're not medical. They're not no medical advice, all that type of stuff. And so if they should have medical products available and make them available to the patients, but unfortunately that's not really happening.
I think that's going to change.
So why don't we go for a break right now? Okay. We only got a minute before I would normally jump in there. But because Jennifer brought up something that she's working on now during the hiatus here, that I think is very important, and I'd like to start fresh with it when we come back from the break. How's that?
Sounds great.
Sounds good? All right. Okay. After break we'll go. When we return, Loretta and I will continue our conversation with our guest, Jennifer Pixie. This is the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at paceradio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
The People's Alliance of Cannabis in Canada is an organization working to improve cannabis legalization in Canada. They have a mission and values that includes all Canadians, no matter where they come from. The values are including everyone, as no one should be excluded from participating, equality, diversity, advocacy, along with cannabis education and research, plus industry, safety, and professional standards. If this is an organization that has the same values as you, check them out at peoplesallianceofcannabisincanada.ca. Once again, peoplesallianceofcannabisincanada.ca. Check them out.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CP.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Hey, hello, and welcome back. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show, and we are live here at paceradio.net. Plus, if you missed tonight's show, you can always catch it later as a podcast at paceradioshow.com. Tonight in the program, I'm joined by our guest Jennifer Pixie, and sitting in for Julie and Kim is Loretta Clark of the Canada-Quebec Connection, a new show here on the network. Welcome back. We're ready to go, aren't we?
Woo!
Woo! All right. Okay, Jennifer. You know, we were having some great discussion during the break, and we're going to discuss that later on about all that stuff. So we'll fill you in on all that end of things, listeners. But right now, we want to go to something that we were talking about before the break. And Jennifer, you had mentioned that you started to work on trying to bring the legacy market to the legal market. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been an advocate for extracts over flower for several years. It's a personal preference, and there are several medical reasons why it's beneficial. Both the lack of carbon combustion and the immediate efficacy of something like an extract. And so many people are familiar with previous brands, like you said, like the Earl Dabs and the Mr. Kush and all of those sorts of things. But I'm really pleased to be bringing to the regulated market a new company that is called Blast. So our name stands for Biomass, Logistics, and Strategic Transformation.
Wow, so fantastic.
Yeah, so basically what we want to do, and what we've now signed some contracts in order to do for this market, is to take the items that these licensed producers are creating and make them into products that the consumer market really wants. The LPs are out there, they're trying very hard to bring products to market that are desirable, that can still fall under the regulations that have been set up by the government. It's a bit of a catch-22 for a lot of companies in how they're able to produce and then actually bring those products to market. And what we're aiming to do is to pass along the information and to get the actual types of extracts that people who have been consuming cannabis for years are used to and that they want to see. High quality shatters and butters and waxes and terpenes and all of the sorts of products that are what we might call tertiary aspects of cannabis, things that aren't flower.
This is great. This is a great project, Jennifer. I'm totally excited that you're doing this. And I know I'm familiar with your products, and they are fantastic. There is that picture on Facebook, that photo of you in this huge concentrate, this huge extract. How did you make it? And tell me about it. It looked like gold. And, I'm really into alchemy. And I obviously see this part of cannabis, and cannabis is the ultimate, alchemist plant for sure. But yeah, that extract, like, how did you make it and make it so big? And I got a couple of questions for you, but that one first, because it just was like a big, huge piece of gold. It looked amazing.
Thank you. So that is a product called Shatter,
yes,
which is made as a butane hash oil. People are familiar with BHO.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
oops.
Her call dropped. I'll get that.
Okay.
There we go. I will call her back. I'm just gonna give that a second to go through there to clear up. I'll give her a call back. Yeah, that was weird, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm totally excited about this Blast.
Yes.
I think it's really needed because people need a kind of a framework too about, how to do this, how to take some projects to the LPs, and the LPs should work with us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hello, Jennifer. We got you back. All of a sudden, there was a massive busy signal going on there. So I disconnected your call and I brought you right back in again. And Loretta was just talking about the Blast thing while you were gone.
I'm so impressed that you're doing this, and I think the timing is perfect, and it's so needed because people do also need a framework of how to get access and how maybe to work with LPs. Like LPs should want to work with us. Like, there should be some mechanism to make this easier. Like, and
absolutely,
you have the expertise on these products. Like we have it, like nobody has it. And so they should want to work with us, and it should be understood that even now, like it's years, we've had legalization for a couple of years, and the medical people upon whose shoulders that legalization was brought have still been like treated like criminals. So that is just, this is fantastic. So please carry on.
Yeah.
About how you made that,
I think,
also what you're going to do with this project. It's excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I think in the last year, I've certainly seen a lot more of the legacy brand creators and extract artists and those types of cannabis activists are being recruited by these companies more, because initially there was a definite level of I don't want to say disrespect, but there was certainly a disconnect between the corporate side and the activist side, and there was and there was a lot of people that even had animosity towards the activists who made that early switch over to try and bolster the regulated market. And in the last year, I think we've seen a lot of a shift where people have realized that you can't get that type of legacy product unless the legacy producers are creating it. Right. And the companies are looking at what they've been able to produce and what the market is demanding, and they're saying, we're missing the boat. And they've put millions of dollars into becoming a licensable operation to then not be able to produce what people actually want.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a battle going on between the regulated and the gray market, because people want the opportunity to buy legally, but they don't want to have to buy a lesser product.
Yeah. No, that's
very true. And that's what we're striving for now, is to create that space where a really positive change can happen in this industry if we allow more of the legacy producers to simply have that space and have that
100%,
access to
100%.
to teach even
going forward.
So that's what we're doing, and so we're trying to link up with as many organizations as we can to connect people to organizations and get them what they need out of our community.
It seems like the medical community needs to have some kind of an organization that would do the testing of their products, and maybe this is where medical people could work with an LP, because they obviously do that. Because basically, one of the things that, you'll still hear parroted, even though it's less now. It's less now because I think they're becoming more aware that how unfair, it has been. But, politicians would say, no, we can't have their products because, they're not safe, they're unclean, blah, 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 right? Even though it turns out, they're allowed to have way more pesticides and, whatever. Anyways, obviously the testing is critical to having access to the legal market. So somehow, if medical people could come together who make products and other people who make products, and have, or if we could use the LPs testing, something needs to happen to go forward, because that's the only way, everything has to be tested, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect still.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting that you're at that place, and That's truly remarkable too, and I know your product, so it's really cool. So that big piece of concentrate, that big piece of shatter, like is that made in like a huge? Is it made in a huge vat? Like it's just like, it's so big. I don't know. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. So that kind of extract is made in large chambers, and you collect it into, you could call it like a large pot, and then it's poured into a flat surface and put into a vacuum oven. And the vacuum oven decreases pressure and heats it slightly in order to create that really clear and there's a fine line between how much pressure, how much heat, and the substance itself.
It's everything.
Is.
That's what makes it a legacy. So tell me, Jen, do you go through a slab of that a week?
I think we were talking about this just the other day and trying to figure out how much we smoke. I probably consume myself over 2 grams of extract every day.
Okay. Nice.
Probably upwards to 5 if I'm having a rough day. Mm-hmm. A little bit of backstory that is unrelated, but slightly. I went skiing in January of 2020, and I shattered my left leg. So I gave myself what's called a tibia plateau fracture, a bicondylar tibia plateau fracture. Wow. And I've gone through 3 surgeries now. I've got 2 plates, 14 screws, and a rod holding my shin together. And most recently I had my Achilles tendon lengthened because as a result of the injury, my leg contracted and atrophied, and my foot no longer went flat.
That hurt. That sounds painful.
Yeah.
Now I noticed you posted a picture recently with you had like was it a cast, or is that a brace that you've got on your leg now?
Yep, I've recently graduated to an air cast, and I'm able to walk around without the cast as long as I'm on a flat surface and safe area. And but some days when I'm having a lot of pain in regards to the injury, I've been smoking upwards of 5 grams of extract.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I wish everyone. That is like a terrible. You've been in pain for over a year.
It has been a definite struggle. But I am so blessed with my cannabis access.
No, you are. I mean, you're going through like you are going through some kind of deep level transformation with that, for sure. That's incredible. But this legacy project, is going to be coming out of it. Like, it's
exactly. It's allowed me to focus in a different avenue over the last year.
Yes, and because it's just brilliant. The legacy project. It's such. I love the word legacy so much, and you explain it simply, and it's just so very true. I just can't wait to see, when you put your materials together or whatever, to see that out there, and that in whatever way I can too, to push, that LPs, should be. That's a thing that's harder in Quebec because, we got the French, English, conflict that sort of seems to never end. But what that does is it upends the ability to like work together and whatever, you know what I mean? So things seem always a little bit harder here, but maybe that's, also because I came here like almost 15 years ago because I became a grandmother. So, it's, could be other reasons too. But I just think it's so important, this blast. I feel like it's going to be a really great way to go forward, and it's honoring something that needs to be honored. That's so.
There's so many.
I think we're really
out of a place of pain, and I can't imagine what you've gone through, like not being able to walk for a year. That's brutal. But you're like transforming. You are in.
We're working towards a better tomorrow. Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like I've seen your pictures that you've been posting online and stuff like that over your leg, and it's you're learning how to walk again, all that type of stuff. Like exactly. Well, how is your walking? Like
it's very, I would say, ungraceful, but but I'm able to walk, and I am grateful for that. I went through a couple of issues, partially because of the pandemic. Funnily enough, I was in Quebec at the time of my accident, and I ran into some problems simply because I was in Quebec. The one thing I'll say, if anybody is ever traveling and doing anything potentially dangerous, please have your health card on you at all times. It's really important, especially if you're out of province. Make sure that you have proof of insurance at all times.
Were you like in Saint Sever or Mount Tremblant? Is that where you were?
No, I was in a very small mountain called Bromont.
Oh yeah, of course I know that. That's on the eastern townships. Yeah, it's very nice there, Bromont. Yeah.
It's very small, very petite. I'm a novice skier. This was my first trip, and I just managed to really do it badly.
I know.
But
brutal girlfriend.
So we struggled a little bit in the Quebec hospital, and then getting me back to Ontario to have my second and third surgeries.
I bet.
Again, I'm still really grateful that I'm Canadian and that I have health care.
Yeah.
I am.
For sure.
I know. But I bet you're not anxious to come back to Quebec anytime soon.
It's probably not going to be my first trip post-pandemic.
I get it. You won't be bringing the Blast project here on tour. Okay, I get it.
As it grows, it grows. Things grow. Okay, now, was there any more that you would like to bring up on the Blast end of things, Jennifer?
Not really. I think just I'm very excited, and I really hope that we're able to bring all of the different aspects of legacy cannabis to the regulated market. I think it's really important that consumers are able to access the types of products that they're used to and that they like and that they know are effective.
Does Blast have a website yet or anything like that where you can direct people to?
Not currently. We're still working on sort of internally getting to different LPs and focusing less on a public face sort of idea. But you will definitely start to see us popping up all over.
Good.
Fantastic.
Hit the ground. Hit the ground with the legs running. That's.
I think the legacy.
Yeah.
The legacy is also, the legacy is so important because, like I said, I feel like medical, is what pushed for legalization, and then it's like medical gets completely ignored. And so this is like a really good project to remind the world of that, and that it's time to let medical in, basically, and just like it makes sense from a business point of view. It totally makes sense, obviously, but it makes sense from like a moral point of view, like so. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Now,
having been at the Owen Smith trial that fought at the Supreme Court for access to extracts and edibles, to be able to bring this full circle.
There too. Yeah. Were you there,
Yeah.
Al? Were you
I was there. I was up I was sitting right behind Owen and Ted. I got a good picture from behind, and you can see the judges and stuff like that. And
they were like so happy to see us, weren't they? The Supremes. They were so like they seemed like they never had people in their court before. It was like,
yeah,
the people who come to court.
It did. They were so excited, and the guards at the front door were just.
The people who come.
They were so taken aback with everybody had cannabis.
Yeah.
Stoners.
So everybody walking through the door is like, I'm gonna declare this.
I'm sure
people out front smoking out front, and and you know, I don't think people were just trying to disrespect the courts or anything. But you know, I did see some. I did see some vaporizers that were in hands. Let's just say.
Well, I mean, I have to admit, I was pretty nervous walking into the courtroom, even though I wasn't the one on trial. It was still a nerve-wracking thing, simply to walk into that room, to see that board of judges, to see, you know, everybody in their fancy collars and all of that. It's a different level.
Cool, really, it was.
Cool. Yeah,
and
they call it pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. And we knew we were going to win because they were like looking at us like, we love you. We love you.
And just the way that they were asking some of the questions towards the Crown end of things, eh? And then when it all ended and they walked out, everybody was quiet until the door shut. And the place just erupted. Because you could feel it, you knew what was coming, right? Because it was absolutely.
It felt like a victory before we got that the answer.
Yeah,
it felt like a victory right away.
It sure did.
It was fun because it was being a part of history. I mean, that was history in the making for sure. And all marginalized groups should be able to have that experience. You know what I mean? Like when they're, I mean, that was something that was cool. That was really cool.
It was very cool. I'm very happy to be. I've been there and to watch that. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's. Before I've got a question for you, Jennifer, but it'll take us a little long, probably. So what I want to do is let's go to break now, okay? And we'll come back afterwards, and we'll get into a new topic of something that I want to find out a little bit about. And I'd also like to be able to reminisce, like we did during the first break, and we'll probably do during the second break here, about old times in Toronto during the rallies and events and stuff like that. So, what do you think? We'll head her off for break, and we'll get into that stuff. All right. Off we go. Time to pay some bills. When we return, Loretta and I will continue our discussion with Jennifer Pixie. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at paceradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888. 9888 and grow on with CTCP.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
The People's Alliance of Cannabis in Canada is an organization working to improve cannabis legalization in Canada. They have a mission and values that includes all Canadians, no matter where they come from. The values are including everyone, as no one should be excluded from participating, equality, diversity, advocacy, along with cannabis education and research, plus industry, safety, and professional standards. If this is an organization that has the same values as you, check them out at People's Alliance of Cannabis in Canada.ca. Once again, People's Alliance of Cannabis in Canada.ca. Check them out.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. All right, we're back, and thanks for tuning into the program. We are live, and you're listening to us on paceradio.net. Today in the program, we're joined by our friend and guest, cannabis patient advocate Jennifer Pixie, and filling in for Kim and Julie is my joint host tonight is Loretta Clark of the Canada-Quebec Connection, the show here Monday night on the network. Well, let's see. Jennifer, I mentioned before we went for the break that I had another question for you on the future. Another future question. We discussed blast in the last segment. And in this beginning of this segment, I want to bring up, I seen a post recently that you had up on Facebook, and you were talking about looking to do a collaboration of some sort. So would you like to take this opportunity to discuss that collaboration? It sounds like something along the line of, I think you're looking for some film editors or filmmakers or something like that. Fill us in on what's going on.
Yeah, I have a friend who is local to Toronto, urban filmmaker. He produces a series called Late Flicks, and he has not yet focused on cannabis themes or cannabis stories, but he's an avid consumer himself and would love to be able to share some of the intimate and personal stories of individuals in the cannabis community.
So this is somebody who's reaching out, looking for patients or whatever. It's not somebody who's looking to share a story. This person is looking to help share patient stories.
Exactly.
Nice.
He wants to be able to give a really personable view.
Yeah.
And how and it's he's really open to the stories that want to be told. So he's not specifically saying, I want you to tell me about X.
Right.
It's what stories do you feel that you need to be told? What stories does our community have?
I talk to you more about this, and I also have a play called Three Rivers, which is a stoner queer play about prohibition and being medical, about history, and so that's very exciting. Totally want to collaborate.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So he's looking to he wants to hear the patient's stories, and he's not just focusing on, like you say, a certain thing.
Exactly, yeah. So if for example, there's a new company that's starting up, he'd love to learn more about that and possibly create a documentary about it. If there's an individual who's had a really meaningful experience with cannabis, be it legally or medically or socially, he wants to be able to tell those stories. And actually get them out there, because a lot of what happens in the media regarding cannabis is very, I guess I could say, fluffy. You know, Pineapple Express movies, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, those types of stoner flicks that are fun. It's a great romp if you want to just like have a great fun movie, but it's not actually telling the stories of the cannabis community itself.
No, this is us going to another level of our culture. This is building our culture by telling our stories.
Yeah, and being able to record that culture for posterity, for future generations to see. You know, exactly. There's very little that's kept for posterity in our community. We don't have, you can have a lab report from some cannabis that you grew, and that's great. But that doesn't tell the story of how it helped a child with epilepsy. It doesn't tell the grandmother who was able to stop shaking so she could help teach her grandson how to make pasta. Like, these are the moments that cannabis creates for people, and those are the stories that are not being told.
Exactly. And it really was like a revolution by healing. Yeah. I mean, that, we only got to get to this point because, so many people changed their minds about cannabis and realized that they had been drastically lied to, because it was like helping them deal with cancer.
Sharing one story, and this is something we've always done here on the Pace Radio Show and on the network, is sharing one story. It educates so many other people, and by getting the word out about how the benefits have helped, this person, that person, it educates people, and it gives people like ourselves who help educate other people knowledge to help share with other people as well.
Yes. Absolutely. When you hear someone's story, you're a lot more likely to want to share your own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the more of us who are able to do that, then the better it'll be for all of us to be able to communicate.
Exactly.
I think when people go through like traumatic experiences too, they feel part of the healing is wanting to share that information to help someone else, because you felt like you were so vulnerable, and you just want to, it's just like part of this cycle of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For some reason, there, all of a sudden, Loretta, you got a bit of an echo going on with you.
I thought it was. Yeah.
You hear you twice. Okay, let's see. So was there any? Okay, as far as this this fella and wanting to collaborate with patients and hearing their stories, is there a way that somebody who's listening now? I don't know whether you're looking for Canadian or whether it matters whether they're in Canada or wherever they're from. But is there a spot where people can get a hold of this person?
On Facebook, Late Flicks Films. It's LATEFLIX.
FLIX. Okay, I'm going to add that to the post. Late Flex. Okay. Or on Facebook, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get the link and I'll add it to the post of the program when we get done. And then,
awesome.
As always, I always have to update things afterwards. Just go. Alrighty. Now.
Yeah, we never know what we're going to end up chatting about.
We don't. You know. And I try to, like when Kim and Julie are here and they're taking the lead on things, I usually behind the scenes, that's what I'm doing, is updating the post, right? With Loretta here tonight, I've been able to do some of that, but I'm not caught up yet. But I will before the show gets over. Okay, let's see, what else? That. Okay, now what I want to talk about now is basically our during our breaks tonight, we were talking about the Toronto rallies. We found out that Loretta and you have actually met before during the Pride parades. This is Pride Month right now, and you know there would have been a parade, and who knows? Loretta, you may have been in Toronto, or Jennifer. Well, Jennifer, I don't know about you going back to Montreal.
Yes. I've met Jennifer because if you worked at Joey's place, definitely. And if you were on that flatbed with us, I was with Tracy Curley. And I feel like you were there, I see these little wings. You know, is that you?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Pride has always been one of my favorite celebrations. I'm queer myself, and I have always felt a huge part of my community is overlapping with the cannabis community and the LGBTQ community.
That's very cool.
I've been a huge supporter of cannabis and I mean, we wouldn't have compassion clubs in Canada were it not for the LGBT community.
Absolutely. Right. No, I know. It was like being on the front lines of the HIV/AIDS crisis that brought me into cannabis. And this, you know, and the whole the beginning of medical. So absolutely, you're totally right. I didn't know that, but I do remember being on that flatbed. It was one of my favorite prides because we were smoking, you know, we all had a lot of joints, and we were smoking joints, and all the cops were sort of lined up because, you know, it's such a thick parade, and it was so much fun, like because we're going by so slow, and we're like smoking joints over the heads of all these cops, and some of them were totally cool about it, but some of them were pissed off. But the people loved it, watching us like smoke weed over the heads of the cops, and I was like loving it.
Absolutely.
I was loving it because I was like loving it that the people were loving it, and so I was like, this is so much fun, because I could tell some of the cops were so, you know, they were so mad that they just had to like put up with all this smoke.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That was
and Pride in Toronto is
so much fun.
It's so different, Pride in Toronto versus Pride in Montreal.
This was in Toronto.
The number of people that come to Pride Toronto versus Pride in Montreal is huge.
I've never been to the Pride Parade in Toronto, but I've watched a lot of it on the news and in the papers over the years, and it's like Jennifer, like you said, it's huge.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's like overwhelming. It is. It's
now with COVID going on, obviously they're not having the parade. I don't know, Jennifer, whether you can fill us in. Like, is there online events this month that are happening?
Oh, definitely. Yes, there are a lot of events that are going on through different programs like the 519 on 519 Church, which is a community center that links LGBT persons with services and community. I believe that World of Wonder is doing a series of online World Pride events. So there's like drag shows and music and podcasts that are all being sponsored for the month. it's really become like a huge thing, and I think that because of the online community, because a lot of us are reaching out more than we have in the past to sort of find that community in a different way than we have in the past, where it was literally like, well, I can just walk to Church Street and I'll find people. Now I think more people are putting themselves out there online to connect with people across the world, and it's really opening that up to people in places that are less accommodating of homosexuality and just any difference of humanity.
Which there's a lot of countries.
Because of the internet.
Yeah.
It's still criminalized. Homosexuality is still criminalized in 69 countries.
Yeah.
And there's over 170 countries that still allow conversion therapy and things like that. This is a horrible, horrible thing that is still being permitted, and
still murder.
Being able to access online services. There's a really amazing program called the Rainbow Railroad.
Yes, I know.
And they work with work with trans people in countries that have putting them at risk physically, and they work with exactly, like literally saving the lives of people by getting them immigration status. And a lot of these initiatives are now being supported by mainstream organizations. There's so many different, I could breweries and vodkas and clothing stores and dog collars that are all partnering with LGBTQ community charities to help further these events, because normally we'd be having, in-person events, we'd be having fundraisers, and we can't do that right now. And so a lot of that has gone online, and it's really beautiful to see the reach that these organizations can have with an online platform like that.
So this period of time where we can't be together physically, and using the online communities is I could just see when everything comes back and the parade starts and these events start and all that. It sounds like there's a good chance that there's going to be substantial growth when it comes to attendance and people being involved in these things.
I think so too.
I think so, definitely. Yeah, I think that we're going to see a huge influx of people who are not only willing but wanting to come out of their shells and say, I'm a cannabis user, or I, am different in whichever way that we're all different, and coming together to share and celebrate in that community. I think it's going to be a lot. I think everybody wants to just run up to each other and hug each other right now, and the sooner we can do that, the better.
Okay, now what I want to get into is another talking about parades and celebrations after COVID. With before COVID and before legalization, Toronto, big parades, 420. Global Marijuana March, you're always involved in those things, being there. When we come back, do you think it's going to be the same? Do you think we can get those crowds of 50,000 people out, 25,000 people out? Or do you think that maybe, they've been sort of dampened and things may have to sort of start all over again?
It's a good question.
Yeah, that sort of go. That could sort of go to the two of you. Yeah,
some people might. Yeah, some might feel like we don't need to protest anymore.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe some people might look at it. Yeah, we don't have to. People may say, well, they shouldn't be protesting, and they should be punished for blocking the streets or punished for this or that because they got legalization. What are they protesting about now? But the things still have to be, we want improvements, things to change. As we discussed earlier, dosing, milligrammage when it comes to products. There's things that need to be done, and by people getting their voice out there, has obviously made change. Legalization wasn't just done by medical people. It wasn't just done by people walking up, being on the street. I always look at legalization was done by so many people coming at it from so many forms and ways that it was just like an octopus. And in the end, it had no, it was going to fall. Prohibition had to fall.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, medical cannabis did happen at the 519. It started the meetings to start medical cannabis.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and medical patients in the courts to get it to certain points. Yeah. It just came at it from so many ways. I think that it's going to continue. Yeah.
I think that there's definitely enough people that are vocally unhappy with the way that legalization has played out so far. I know that I think it would have been 4/20, 2019, like April 20th, 2019, the city of Toronto refused to give a permit for the first time in something like 15 years. Initially back in 2005, we didn't have a permit for 420. We simply showed up.
Yeah.
But then it became so large that we started to need to get that type of requirements. And in 2019, the city said, no, we're not doing it. We're not giving you that permit. And 50,000 people still showed up, and they showed up to Nathan Phillips Square to say, look, this is a problem. You didn't give us a permit, but we're here anyway. Don't you wish you had worked with us?
I agree. I think that, there can be events, it can become more, a week of events, and there should be tables and, Pride.
Wow. Exactly. Pride has turned into a month-long celebration, but it's also a time of the year where we point out all of the lacking of services and the lacking of facilities for people who need them. And I think that cannabis is probably closer on our route to that than anything else, where, it's great, all of the things we've gained, but we still have to stay firm in what we need out of the changes.
Yes, exactly. I know at one time Toronto was doing, you're talking about a month-long event, but I know at one time Toronto was doing one, I sort of looked at it as from April 20th, from the 420 to the Global Marijuana March, where there was different things being hosted. I don't know if it was really a big organized
thing. We did a cannabis week.
Yes,
because we did a cannabis week several years ago.
Yeah,
we had lounges. We need lounges for that, and we will have more.
Exactly. It was a really hard thing to coordinate, having event spaces for all of the things that we wanted to do. So, for example, we had a dance party, and we had educational seminars at Vapor Central, and we had like a rolling demonstration at Hotbox and things like that. But we weren't able, partially funding and partially just the amount of community effort that it took to get that much to happen. I think a lot of cannabis activists are sort of still in that space of trying to do their own thing, to try to further their own specific agenda, which is also necessary, because if there isn't a very vocal advocate for a specific thing, then that can get lost in the backwash of all of the problems. But I think that to some extent there's no overlying community knitting that keeps us all on that same front to coordinate when we need to.
We're a very diverse group. We have a strange identity, I think. Like when I think about, the queer identity as, you know, comparison. The cannabis community includes everybody, and but you know, but there's sort of, you know, because, and it includes like all of these illnesses and you know, debilitating issues, and you know, so, but it's not like, you know, it's not like just cancer or, you know, HIV, AIDS. Like it's so many that in some ways I think this has been a bit of a weakness for us, but in reality, ultimately, it's our strength, because really it includes everybody. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We are everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
So it really should come through. But you know, you need places to gather, you know, to be able to, you know, get more organized and do more things. But I think that's coming. And even though these lounges closed before the pandemic or during or whatever, like I think they're gonna, especially in Toronto first, come back like in just huge. They're just gonna be everywhere, and I think they're gonna change the world. Actually.
Well, let's discuss lounges a little further. Jennifer, I know like in Toronto, you mentioned that one earlier. There used to be quite a few in the city. I know that back in 2012, I wrote a report for Treating Yourself magazine on the lounges that were in the city, and how they were all self-regulated, you know, from ventilation to access, bathroom access, you know, parking, all the types of things we included in this report. And Aaron Butterfly was involved in that, as well as a friend of mine who had never been to a lounge before. He'd never really smoked publicly, and he was literally blown away when he was involved in that report. Because we went and visited all the lounges in Toronto. Vapor Village.
I remember that. That's cool. That's very cool.
And there was
once quite a selection.
Pardon me?
There was quite a selection.
There was yes, and that's what we were talking about. Like Joey's, Puff Mama's, hers compared to other places, and this place compared to that. So what you had a good descriptions for basically for some of these lounges, and so let's like Joey's you mentioned was like a.
Yeah, clandestiny at the time was a very femo-centric. It was run entirely by women. We were all females, so we had a much more female-oriented aspect and vibe.
And Joey had that sort of museum quality, you know, storefront, like there's a bit of a history lesson going on as well. I like that.
Right. We had a lot of hemp products.
She's definitely a legend in terms of, really, she was the first to do the comedy, you know, with the lounge.
Yeah, the comedy shows were amazing back in the day. We had the first location that we had on Queen Street had a beautiful backyard space with a large tree in it, and we could sometimes have a comedy shows out there. It was amazing. And then of course the shows that we used to put on at like that Latvian Hall and those types of events. It was very fun.
That was so. You go back. You go back to that time.
Yeah, definitely.
That was the first lounge. That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, that place was something else.
And then you know,
and then Vapor Central. Vapor Central opened in 2007. I worked there when it first opened as well, and it was very much of a more of like a clinical or a structured or a corporate look and vibe to it. It was, you know, more run like a Starbucks kind of thing, where, you know, you'd come in, there was a bar, there were the rentals. Back when we first opened, it was exclusively vaporizing, and then over the years it expanded to be smoking as well. So like, you know, we used to have people come in off of Yonge Street in suits and ties and be like, I can smoke weed here?
Yeah, I know.
Like, yes, you can.
I used to love sitting there watching people come in for the first time, and like they couldn't believe that. They couldn't believe that this place existed, and that, You know what I mean? And they were just waiting for the police to come in, like, you know, like they were just like,
yeah.
And
I mean, that early days, it was like that.
I know that through PACE, when Treating Yourself magazine was going, and we were helping with Marco at the different trade shows, and the National Home Show, the Women's Shows, Health Shows, so on and so forth. We were handing out brochures, and within them would be listings of the lounges. For us, they were a place for patients could go and socialize, get some entertainment, as well as meet other patients and be able to consume while we're there. For myself, coming from out of the city, coming from out of town, driving into Toronto, it gave me a place to medicate. It's given other patients a place to medicate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, the laws, drinking laws, you can't have cannabis and alcohol together, so you can't say, well, you know, go to a bar. You can't, you know, because people can risk losing their liquor license. But the lounges were a place where it was a community, and you know, they were self-regulated.
You could always find your community.
Yeah,
you know, it was like you were saying, there was a different place for every vibe. There was the Planet Paradise that had that really urban street feel, and there was Hotbox that had that super hippie vibe that was really organic, and you know, and the Vape on the Lake. You know, Marco's place, it was much more of a medical centered vibe there, and you know.
Yeah, his place was
great. You could models.
You know, you could take
many kinds of models that can happen. You know, that can suit the needs of the
and they
people
were
who
all
live in that
successful.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, they were all successful for the markets that they were serving.
No,
it was really beautiful.
It sure was, and the comedians were like basically getting a circuit as well, you know, going to the different lounges.
Yeah,
and the entertainment.
you could go to a different comedy show every night.
Yeah, exactly. And the lounges had different events going on. Not only the comedy, like, you know, Vapor Central. Their big thing was they had a lot of live streaming that was going on, and people could get involved with things there. Yeah, they did an open mic there, which allowed people who were like, you know, new artists to get exposure in a place that was really accepting. Like, it's really hard to do an open mic in a bar full of drunk people because they're very judgmental.
Right.
Whereas, you know, if you're in a pot shop full of stoners, you know, it's like, hey guy, you're not so awesome at that, but it's still great.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think that's something that's really special and unique to Canada, I think, you know, and it's a beautiful, that's a beautiful legacy.
As far as the lounges, what ended basically the lounges was legalization, creation of laws that outlawed cannabis smoking and vaporizing inside a building.
Yeah. It was up until that point, it was a non-law. Basically, it wasn't legal, but it wasn't illegal. So it was basically avoided by the police because as long as there was no issues, then there were no issues. And as soon as legalization happened, it became illegal, which made it a problem. And now we're without.
I do think all that's holding it up now is the government's just figuring out, okay, so how do we make money on this? You know, they're going to demand licensing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's where I think, like, okay, so there will be recreational licenses, but medical licenses should be exempt. You know, like, that's where I think medical deserves to have some access and some fucking compensation. That's what I want.
Back in 2012, the Toronto Council did a report on the lounges. They were called them the medical marijuana consumption facilities. And
okay.
Yes. And they sent bylaw officers around to them all to take notes.
Yeah, and they had a big meeting with all the owners to go over things. So they did the report, and in the end, they didn't really do anything with it all. But they did, they did look into it, because I bring that up because Loretta, you mentioned, why couldn't they have lounges for patients to go to, and Toronto has done some of that homework to do that in order to these places to open, and if they open as far as being accessible for everybody, the public, not just patients, could these lounges open up as something completely new and different, being that now that they have access to legal beverages, there's legal food products out there? Could there be situations where lounges could, why not be able to prepare meals?
Well, for sure. And I just think, for sure. But it seems like the way that the government's kind of set it up right now, it's almost the only ones who can open up lounges will be LPs. And I'm sure they'll want to. But again, this is where, this is where I feel like medical people deserve some kind of a program, actually, and exemption, recognizing that medical was instrumental in bringing us legalization and helped so many people, help their own lives and improve their own health. So I just think, we could come up with a model that's just a little bit different. It's medical and it's wheelchair accessible, and it has programming that deals with the health issues of people who live in that hood. So if there's autism, there's a support group for families with autism. You deal with, you discover what are the needs, the health needs in your neighborhood, and you build the programming based on that. But medical should be treated very differently than recreational. I really believe that.
I
would certainly agree.
Yeah. Before we finish up things here, because we are going a little long, which that happens occasionally. What do you think, Jennifer? Do you think the lounges will come back? Do you think they'll get out that we could get? I was really surprised when Doug Ford said, "Hey, you can just smoke wherever you can smoke cigarettes, and we smoke in the public, right?" Compared to where some provinces, there are restrictions to where you can consume, like Quebec, right? Could that become an election thing? Like his poll number is a little low. I'm not saying which way people vote, but could lounges become something with an election? Like,
it should. It should. I hope so.
I think
it's going to be an issue.
I think it could. I think that it takes some new blood, as you call it. There needs to be a new wave of activists that have that drive to make the change happen. Not to say that we're tired or not willing to put in that hours, but I think that there's a new generation of people who have grown up with, not maybe grown up, but come of age in legalization, and to them, it isn't different than alcohol. Yeah. So why is it treated as such? Right. And why shouldn't there be these things? And I think that the generation previous, where they said, no, drugs are bad and all drugs are the same as drugs. I think that generation is very much past. And the generation that grew up with a very much more open and honest and reasonable drug policy, I think that's going to be the driving force between the next evolution of legalization and community consumption. I think.
I agree. As the age shifts and the people shift with their ages, attitudes all shift as well. And after participating with Treating Yourself in some of those shows, I always said to people, don't discriminate against the older people. They smoke cannabis too. And
Yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we should get into the shout-outs and stuff going on here. Or was there anything else that you would like to bring up, Jennifer, before we get into that?
No, I think we've covered a lot of awesome topics tonight. Thanks for having me on.
Hey,
it was so much fun.
Thank
you for having me too.
You know, it's a combination of reminiscing. It was a combination of getting caught up and updated, getting together with old friends if we haven't seen each other. You know, like I said, due to COVID, we can't get to rallies. Jennifer and I, we don't see each other. Loretta, you and Jennifer, you know, all of a sudden, hey, we were on the same float together. You know? So, yeah.
It's a small world.
It's small world. Exactly. All right. So, yeah, shout out time then. Jennifer, how would you like to, or where would you like to shout out, or who would you like to throw a shout out to?
Feel free if you're interested in finding out more about what I'm doing and how I'm bringing the legacy to the regulated market. You can feel free to follow me on either Facebook or Instagram, Jennifer Pixie and the Toronto Pot Pixie. And
I'm definitely following
you can follow one of my farm projects, an organic craft farm at Osprey Farms, Canada.
Organic farming. We never even got into that.
Nice.
We'll have to have you back.
I guess we'll have to talk some more.
Part two next week.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I saw a picture of you, a recent picture of you standing there near, I think it was a barn or something like that, and it was tagged with that farms in that. And I thought, okay, this is where you're at. I didn't realize this was some organic growing thing that you were involved in.
Yeah, this is one of my other smaller projects. It's a beautiful organic farm with craft cannabis and organic tobacco and organic vegetables and produce. And it's really run with a beautiful sentiment of nature knowing what's best.
Nice.
Wow.
And that's definitely something I feel very strongly
about. I want to be a farmhand. Wow. That sounds awesome. Where's that? Is that outside of Toronto?
Yeah, that's near Kingston, Ontario.
Oh, cool.
We're in
Happy Point. That's
very beautiful.
I've been to a place, a few places actually. There was a tour that I was involved in. Participated and went and seen these houses and stuff. And there was a place where people would come and stay a while, and for their stay, you know, they worked on the farm, on the land, and at harvest time, people all from other areas all gathered together and all ate together around a big table, and there were sections of the house where were sleeping quarters and the whole thing. It was pretty neat. Build stuff out of the clay bricks and the whole bit right out of the earth, right there. So this is farm cooperatives
are definitely making a big comeback in the last year or two with the COVID situation and, you know, potential shortages and people are really concerned about access to good, safe, and healthy food.
They should teach kids how to grow their food, I think, you know, for sure. Absolutely.
It's really important that everyone knows how to take care of themselves.
We didn't have a vegetable garden as a kid, and we got one now.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's okay. It's good. Cool. It's good to know because the one I seen was in the Coburg area. It's the one that I got a tour of. It was pretty cool. We had a good time there. We do it again. So, alrighty. Shout outs. Jennifer, did you get in yours? I know you mentioned about getting hold of you on Instagram, Facebook. Were you on Twitter or anything like that? All right.
Not active. No.
No.
Toronto Pot Pixie.
All right. That's where people can find you. Sounds good. All right. Loretta, Even as
I'll do a
joint host, still get shout outs. You get one too. Go ahead.
Sure, I'm gonna shout out to Puff Mama since we were talking about her and Planet Paradise. Since I hope we can go back there someday, and lounge events and lounges. Woo! Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah.
That's right. You got a third one here. I know that for sure. My shout out goes to Loretta for filling in tonight.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. I had so much fun. Much fun.
And you know, it's great when you can get together with people like this and find out that hey, we got more in common with him. So, all right, let's see. You can find the Pace Radio Network on Twitter. You can find the Pace Radio Show there as well. We're on Facebook. You can find us online, paceradio.net, as well as pace-online.ca. Thank you. Just go to our sponsors, bmahydroponics.com. They're in Belleville, Ontario. Legacy420.com. They're down at Taganaga on the reserve. Stop in there, check them out. Plus, they do lab testing. You can get your products tested, find out what the strengths are. Yes. Dr. Buck, CTS, that's Dr. Buck, Cannabis Trimming Solutions. He helps with swimming. He says, we mow what you grow. That's his newest saying. And the Camelford Lifestyle Shop in downtown Camelford, they have opened their doors again with Stage 1 coming in. And they are really excited and waiting for you to stop by. Plus, always a thank you to our guest, Jennifer Pixie. It was great getting caught up with you again tonight, and we'll have to have you back sooner. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great night.
You're welcome. And Loretta, thanks for filling in. Hey, this is great. Thanks for doing so.
Thank you. Thank you for
Look forward to the next time.
Last.
And as always, thank you to our listeners for tuning in to the program. And other than that, we'll talk to you later, and good night.
Night.
I blame it on industry.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Do you want to hear what patients and cannabis advocates have to say? If so, then catch the Pace Radio Show Wednesday nights here on paceradio.net.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.